Live on Instagram. We're live. Yo, Mike. How you doing, bro?
Yeah.
Hey, welcome to Skorch the Fears episode. We're on episode 23, I feel like, or something like that.
2, 3.
Yeah, I don't even remember. George keeps track. I do the podcast. I am so excited to have the great Mic Mell on. He is my business coach. He's also Munif's business coach, which I feel like a lot of my audience knows him as well. I should have done this. I'm going to quickly put on the Instagram Live the YouTube channel so that y'all can actually see Mike's face instead of just mine. So here we go. Mike, tell me, where are you going? You're going to leave now? Okay. I thought you were just leaving for a second. All right.
No, I'm adjusting the flooring.
Love it. Okay. We got that pinned comment. All right. We're good to go. My man, how you feeling?
I got to tell you, it's a great day to be alive, but all days that end in a Y are.
Yes. And also just FYI, guys, for when we were preparing this podcast, we were singing together. It was amazing. Having an amazing time.
If you don't make bad art, what's the point?
Right. So, all right, Mike, I want to first ask you, who are you? What do you do? What is 11 Coaching? Let's start with this. Even more important than 11 Coaching, what is business coaching and why should an entrepreneur have a business coach? What's the purpose of that?
Well, to be more successful faster than you would anyone.
Okay. Go more into that. Like, what do you mean? Why would I be more successful with a business coach versus just me doing it on my own? Like,
it's not like any random person that says they could be helpful will be useful. So I just want to there's lots of people that say they're lots of things. There are even people that say that they are heart surgeons that you never want to touch your flesh, right?
Right.
But I could imagine that anyone who could help you come up with your best ideas as a business leader would be a valuable person to speak with.
Okay. So what is business coaching? Like, that makes sense. I understand that as in like the idea of what or why somebody would want it is because you're going to come up with your best ideas. That means you're going to make more money. What is it? What do you actually do? Is it us just talking? Is it therapy? Like what's going on?
Well, it's not therapy, it's coaching. So You're not the same. That's why it's a different group of letters.
Mm-hmm.
The thing of it is, I think everyone gets something a little different out of business coaching. But it would be for people who really want to achieve the highest levels of success that they're capable of. So not everyone wants to be a captain of industry. Not everyone wants to be spectacularly wealthy. Not everyone wants to be super important or have lots of people call them ma'am or sir. It's not the end game for everyone isn't the most amount of money, right? Like everyone has different aspirations, but also, capitalism is kind of a crazy system. I mean, it is kind of ruthless. And
a little bit.
Yeah. And I don't know if you ever noticed this or not, but man, life will wear you down sometimes. Just a little bit. A little bit. I know not you, but life can be difficult out there.
It definitely wears me down sometimes. It wears down everybody at some point.
Which is the point.
Right.
So I think if you had someone whom you could convene with, who would support you in doing your best work, being the kind of person you want to be, and achieving the kind of success that could give you satisfaction on this side of the grave, those would be advantageous reasons. Like people want more money. I understand. Capitalism is my favorite sport. It's a sport. It is measured in money. I totally understand the concept. It's not in any way confusing. I'm just saying it's not, it can't just be money. You got to have a reason to have the money, or there's no reason to have the money.
Right. So it's more than just making money. It's also about actually achieving the goals that people want.
I think that's a fair description of business also, though. I don't think business is just about money. I think it's about something.
What's that something?
Well, that changes by the person, right?
Fair enough. Okay. So I just wanted to start there because I feel like when I first met you, I didn't really understand what business coaching was either.
I get
That's
that because there's a lot of business coaches out there. And so like anything else where there's a lot of like not everyone can be the best business coach. That wouldn't make sense.
right.
It would just be if everyone was the best at everything, it wouldn't mean anything.
Right.
Breathing. Some people are better breathers than others, and that's like as fundamental as it gets. So, you got to find someone who is having the kinds of conversations you want to participate in. It's not really about what people are doing. It's about are they having the kinds of conversations that you want to be in. And so for those of you listening that do want to be rich, if you don't come from that class, that caste, whatever you want to call it, you'll have to leave the caste that you were born into and enter a new one, which I imagine is more difficult than talking about it, or everyone would do it.
Right. 100%. I love it. So talk a little bit about 11 coaching real quick. Like actually talk about how did you even get into coaching? Because you're a business coach.
You want the real story or the fake one that just sounds funny?
I want the real story. I don't want the fake story where you're jet skiing with hot models. I don't want any of that. I want the real story.
I did live on Clear Lake in Orlando for 4 years, and our dock was the one that ESPN did the barefoot water ski championships off of for years.
Yeah.
That is true.
No, you're doing it now. That's not what I'm saying. But at the beginning, what was it?
Well, even then, so I was a musician in my 20s, and I toured the country, and I made electronic music and reggae and funk and experimental. I did all kinds of cool stuff. And then right around the time I turned 30, I realized, wow, like I don't know that I'm really going to do what it takes to be a professional and great musician. And I did this transformational seminar this weekend, whatever, and it worked. I mean, I hadn't spoken to my parents in 3 years, and there I was talking to them. I'm like, I want to do that. And so I spent years doing different programs and having mentors, and I worked for this international coaching company, and I was their director of training and development, which was an awesome gig. It ended very comically.
So I want to slow you down a little bit and go a little bit. So what happened in that transformational challenge? Because obviously something happened there where you're like, all right, now I want to go down this path.
You ever have a moment of clarity? Well, did you ever have a moment when you experience something and you're like, I want that?
Yes.
Like someone serves you food out of a Dutch oven and you're like, I must have a Dutch oven. Okay. It was just one of those moments. And I'm like, this is for me. Maybe. I don't know. I was lost. Anything that sounded interesting at the time, I was probably going to go toward, right?
Okay.
Did I answer your question?
Yeah, no, to answer the question, I'm going to keep asking follow-up questions. So what specifically, what was it that attracted you to I don't know what the transformational challenge was. It including business coaching? What part of it attracted you? I guess that's what I'm asking.
You ever had an epiphany moment where you saw something about yourself or your viewpoint of life and you were like, oh my God, that's ridiculous. And then you were free? Like a moment when you magically forgave someone or stopped for something that didn't work about you, or you saw why you kept tripping over your own feet. Has that ever happened to you?
100%.
Yeah, it was like, I really got how much I love people, drive me crazy. Oh my God, people are the ones that are the flat earthers. But I do love people. And I'm like, I would love to make a difference for people if I could.
I love it. People are flat earthers, but they're also the best scientists and the best business people. It's everything, or it's everyone.
Earthers don't make the best scientists, to be
true.
Fair.
Fair enough.
Okay.
Don't mix them. I'm not mixing them together.
Lots of things. And there are flat earthers that are scientists and probably get acceptable performance reports from their boss.
Possibly.
I want to be mediocre.
I love it. So, okay.
Okay, so I did a seminar.
Helping people.
Like, let me try this. So I'm like, moved to Atlanta, and I'm like coaching people, and I go and I work at this company, and I'm the director of training and development, and they got a bunch of coaches, and then that ends, and it ends really silly, right? Which is things end. Time kills everything. So it's 2014. I'm like, what the heck am I going to do? So it's November 11th, 2014. I do my first coaching call in the parking lot of Hodgepodge Coffee Shop in South Moreland Avenue in Atlanta, Georgia, with half of everything I own in the back seat. And there I am. I'm doing my first coaching call with my client. And now, mind you, today, as I'm having this conversation with you, it's 21 July 2022. So it's approximately 8 years from the day that I'm sitting there with half of everything I own right behind me in the backseat having this call. And now we have 27 coaches on staff across the US and Europe. And we have clients from like stay-at-home moms to like movie stars. We have, 9-figure companies and like solopreneurs with their Etsy shops, and people that work for big companies and people that work for small companies, and school teachers and young people and old people and middle-aged people and sick people and well people. And it's awesome. Like, there's a group of us, and we get to provide good and honest work, and we get to support people in whatever it is that's important to them. Like if you're listening to me talk right now, like you have stuff that's important to you. That's what I'm talking about, is that like for you, that stuff, like everybody's, at 11, like everybody's agreement is different because we just work on their real life. So anyway, we're one of the largest coaching companies in North America. And
I love it.
Proud of that, right? I'm the founder of the company. And so I have a lot of cool clients like Jonah, who is one of my clients. And, it really is about achievement. It's true. And the truth is, there's like capitalism is my favorite sport. And like me personally, like I'm so down with making that money. Like I'm all about making that.
It's not just, you're right. It's not just about the money. There has to be another reason for the money. But I want to go back a little bit. I want to go back to that moment, that night that you just brought up about your first coaching call. What were you feeling in that moment? Because you have half your stuff, it sounds like. So it sounds like you didn't have a place to stay, almost.
I was couch surfing.
Okay.
So places, my friends would say to you, don't tell people you were homeless because you slept on my couch and used my shower.
Love it.
It's like, so I was couch surfing,
Okay. So how did it feel in that moment? Like, how did you get this client? What did it feel like doing your first coaching call? What feelings were going through your head?
So I had a client. So I told you I worked at that coaching company, and then we parted ways, and then I started 11. So there was like a week apart from me not working there, parting ways, and me having this first call. So I had a client, and they had a 6-month agreement with me, and it lapsed 4 days before I stopped working there. Was the end of our 6-month agreement, and we never renewed. And I called her up and I'm like, so you don't have any contract with them? Like, let's just sign a new contract. And then she's like,
love it.
And I took none of my other clients, right? I let them keep everybody. And that's what, it's fine. And that was where it started. And now we have lots of coaches. Not every, they're not all like me because we're not a cult. So it's not a bunch of me's, because I don't know. I get on my own nerves sometimes. I don't know if you do, but not if I get on your nerves, but like.
So that wasn't your first, right? That wasn't your first call. You had been working with that person for a while. So you knew what was going on a bit.
So here in 2022, what I can tell you is I've been coaching for almost 16 years.
Right.
Now, like, this is my thing. Like, the guy who does he takes the beer cans and he makes them into the little motorcycles. You ever seen? It's usually a fella. I mean, women can obviously make the art too, and
right.
Whatever gender, right? It's not I didn't mean that to be like a thing. I'm just saying, like, that person that they take the beer cans and they make the like Harley Davidson motorcycles out of
Yeah,
them.
like I know those artists.
Yeah, and then they work on that skill for years, and it's like, oh, it's so good. Like you're an artisan. I'm like that, but I don't make aluminum can sculptures. Instead, I coach people.
No, I love it. And okay,
It's the
like
hat was inspiring me. Your hat's very. I feel like we're going to a more relaxed art festival.
I love it. So yeah, so okay, so it wasn't like your first. It didn't feel as hard in the sense because you had been doing it for quite a while at that point.
It's always a challenge, Joe. You know what I mean? Like it's not like I'm good at it, but I don't. Even to this day, like I get nervous before my calls. Like I don't relate to it like I have it because, and I'm glad you said that. You know, it's going to sound cheesy, but like, so every time I get on a call with somebody, that person is honestly and earnestly and in good faith, like, I want more out of life and I want to achieve, and this is important, and this is my real life. So I make a sincere effort to remind myself of that, you know, constantly, because it's very real for people. You know, when someone comes to me and they talk about their money or their marriage or their well-being, it's like, that's the stuff that matters the most to them. I don't want to walk into that like, oh, yeah, don't worry about it. It's fine, Jonah. Your dreams are great. We're just going to get it. That's not cool.
Right. I gotcha. And then also something I'm curious about, staying in that moment, like, because we're skipping over a little bit on right now, like your job as a coach, which I might get back into. But what happened? Was there like a disagreement with that company and then you're like, screw it, I'm going to start my own? Like what, why did you start this company? Because you could have been a business coach for somebody else.
Okay. So we parted ways for whatever reason. And at first it was like, well, I need to make money, so I'll just go coaching people and figure it out. And, you know, I thought about it for a couple of weeks and I'm like, no, I think I want to do this. So I kind of thought about how I wanted to do it. And then I built up a very small clientele for myself of various group of clients and life coaching clients and business coaching clients. And, you know, and I guess it was like a year and a half later. I think it was like right after New Year's in like 2017 or something. And I was having a cup of coffee and this little voice in my head goes, what are you going to do if the economy blows up? How are you going to pay your bills? What's your plan? Right. It's in my head, like randomly, I'm like, what a weird thing. And then I'm like, oh, I don't have a plan. And I resolved to myself to get more clients than I could handle. And then I was going to get more people to come with me.
Wait a minute. What was the day where you had your first own client, where it was your own business? You say 2014?
I mean, I've been coaching people in some way, shape, or form since 2006. But like, you know, there's lots of people out there giving counsel and coaching people, and that doesn't count. My first paying client was probably 2007.
Right, but what I'm saying is that was working for a different company, right? Like that wasn't with yourself. Then you worked for this company.
Me having a coaching client. Like I had like a coaching client, and then I had a coaching company called Full Self Expression. And then I went and worked at this other company, and then I started 11 Coaching.
Wait a minute. So you had okay, this is why I need to start at the beginning. You had a coaching company before 11 Coaching.
I did.
Okay, so what happened there? Like what like tell me your story. Like when you had your own company, you worked for somebody else, and then you started your own company again.
Yeah.
So tell me about the first company. How was it different than your current company?
I definitely had very few of the skills I had now. Like I was earning my keep with my clients, but it wasn't able to do the things I can do today.
And how do you feel about that, about like, because I think this is something that a lot of entrepreneurs do, and I think it was a good idea. I think it's a good idea that you start your company even if you can't do the things that you can do today, because there's this idea, at least in real estate, and I think it's with most entrepreneurs, it's fail forward, right? So first off, I commend it either way. And like, I guess my question is, because I want to get back to the original question, is like, was there, how do I want to ask this? Like,
Can I address what you kind of just said while you're thinking
go
of
for
it?
it.
Yeah, how can you know how to do something you haven't done? See, people sit around and they go, well, let me think about how all of the possible ways it could turn out. And then we convince ourselves that we'll be able to come up with 2, 3, 4 million different scenarios of timeline threads of all of the possible things that could happen. And then by working it all out in our heads, we'll magically know how to do it. Now, since we worked it all out in our heads, we know how it goes. And then we go, but I don't really know how it's going to go, but I don't know. And then back to the whole loop of, well, let's discuss all of the. Okay, now here's the thing. If you say to someone, you should get things in writing. Okay, that makes perfect sense. Everyone I know has had an experience where they did not get something in writing and they said, well, that didn't work out. Now I get everything in writing. And
Right.
everyone says the same thing before and after.
Right.
It's the thing. Do you know the thing I'm referring to?
Like, just doing it. Like, that's what you're talking about, right?
Did you ever not get something in writing?
Of course.
And then something happened and, oh, you'll never do that again, right?
And it was terrible. And it was super annoying.
People told you before that, oh, you always get stuff in writing. A zillion.
Yeah, tons of people would tell me, but then I'd be like I was told that when I was a kid, but then I was playing video games and they made the terms and agreement thing like 15 bajillion pages long. And I'm like, you know what? Like, whatever, I'm signing that. I trust whoever I'm doing business with. But then obviously, like, if you don't get it in writing, then it becomes a huge issue.
It was obvious it never would have happened.
Right.
Oh, well, now that I screwed up, now it's obvious. So everyone should know what I know. That's the point. Everyone else is alive. I just want to be clear. If you can hear my voice, everyone else really does exist. You're not the only one. I promise you.
Right.
Me right now, who is conjured by your imagination to tell you this, to remind you everyone else exists. But the thing is this. If I were to say to you, well, if you want to become a great tennis player or a concert pianist or a chef, you will have to go do the thing over and over again and do it. You would say, oh, that makes sense. Well, why would making $1 million be any different? Because people go, well, and I got it. It's really not. Like, no, look, if you want to know the secret of money, here's one of the secrets of money. No one has any idea what they're doing. People will say, oh, Mike, you didn't know what he's talking about. That's what they say to cover for it. No one has any idea what they're doing at all. We're all making it up as we go along. We do the same things over and over again. So we think we have a plan. We sometimes have a plan. It doesn't often factor in hurricanes, earthquakes, food stuff, the E. coli, whatever. And even when it does. So we're all just winging it. So you should just do what you want. And,
So let's get into that, because I kind of find it interesting because, I mean, you're a business coach. So obviously some people, what do you think makes someone successful at their goals? Like, I feel like you would be able to answer this in a way most people can't, because that's what you do, is make.
Yeah, everybody wants the answer. See, now I got to come up with the answer. So
There's no the answer. I'm coming up with your answer or an answer.
I have the answer. I have the answer to how do people define success and what is success. And it is the answer. When you say success is this thing specifically, and then you make that thing happen, that is success, because you say it's the thing you want.
Right.
So successful people are willing to create things and then fulfill on the things they create, which involves a lot of thinking and planning and creativity. And you have to actually take the time to create the thing you want, so you'll know it when you see it. I don't know, we'll see. And then you go to a restaurant, there's like 90 things on the menu, and it's like, gosh, I don't know. But if you knew that you wanted the crepes, then you would immediately be limited to that one section of the menu, and it would be easier to decide if you wanted blueberry or ham. Do they do ham crepes? That's not a thing, right?
No, definitely not.
Yeah.
So wait, hold on. I'm gonna break this down for the audience. So step one, you have to actually know what you want in order to be successful, which is one of those like things that are obvious, but like we don't actually think about.
I'm going to interrupt you right there.
No, go for it.
As we go, here's the thing. Okay, let me say it this way. If I show you a magic trick, and this is all of us, and you like the magic trick, it's goody. Woo! We're doing it again. Woo! And then I'm going to show you how it's done. And then you're going to be like, oh yeah, that's no big deal. That's no thing, right? Before you knew how it was done, tell you, whatever. See, that's the thing. That's the hubris of it. As soon as someone knows how the trick is done, they act like, oh, it's obvious. Well, if it was common sense, everyone else would be doing it too.
Right. Yeah. Common sense is not common is like a quote I've heard before.
So I live in the big city and I jaywalk a lot. I don't know if we live in cities, but we do that. And people in the country jaywalk too because who cares, right? But that's kind of the point. Like some people jaywalk and some people only cross at crosswalks. Now, if you ask people one way or the other, they'll tell you that's common sense.
Right. No, I get it. I mean, that's just what everyone else is doing. So I just want to break it down based on what you've been saying. So first off, you got to know what you want. Like that's number one. In order to be successful, you got to actually have a goddamn goal, which I agree with. Like, I mean, that is a surprisingly like not common thing. Like people just have businesses and they're like, yeah, I'm just trying to make money. And I'm like, what does that even mean? What? Right? Like, you know this, like, that's probably one of the first things you work with with people on, is like,
to be fair, now my clientele is a little bit beyond that starting point most of the time. Although if someone's up for it, I'll take on anybody, right? But I mean, we have 27 coaches, so yeah.
Right. So that's step one. Like I know there's not the answer, but there are some answers that I know you know better than most people. So that's step one, is know what you want. And then what would you say might be step two?
You'll have to do something.
There you go. I like that. That's literally what was in my head, is you got to just do something to try to get there.
I need to make a plan. That's doing something. Well, I have to. Anytime you say I have to, what's going to come after that is the doing.
Right.
So you have, okay. I have one caveat. Okay. Talking about stuff you could do is not the same as doing something.
And watching content, like watching this podcast, even though I love you watching this podcast, that's not doing something either. Consuming, I mean, like
education, but like there's practicing algebra and then there's calculating amortization rates. So
right.
Both of them are, I don't even know that that's algebra, right? I'm just saying, like, it's probably just arithmetic and
it's pretty complicated.
Math. It's just math.
Right.
It's applied math. So it's like, I understand that real estate is a legal construct and you're required to understand how the process works. I agree. I totally agree. You should know how to do your job. Totally. If you work at McDonald's, you should know how the fry vat works. Totally. But also, if you don't go out there and actively find deals and make deals happen and facilitate transactions, you're not making money. The transaction part is the money. So you have to actually go source deals and money, and then you have to make an intersection between money and deals, and that always has people. So you have to go talk to people, but not about how you're going to whatever. Like you have to go find your deals and then take those deals to people and then transact and facilitate. And that, if you're not doing that, it's all pretend.
Right. Exactly. Like I like listening to this podcast and listening to people like who are my mentors, like Pace and Jamil and other people. Like obviously I learned a lot from them, but everything I learned from them would just be useless.
There's no but. All education, look, anything you learn, if you do not use it, is useless. Well, what about information about Iceland or the shark population under the Arctic? Yes, I understand you have lots of Jeopardy knowledge. That's awesome. But if that's the response to a discussion about business, we're in the wrong podcast. And I would talk about something totally different.
Right.
I just want to check. We're here because capitalism, right?
We're here because of capitalism.
Great. So
That's such a funny way of saying it. I love that.
The people who make money go do stuff, and capitalism is a transaction. There's a point where a transaction must be conducted. And I know that it seems like everything other than talking to other people is the answer, but talking to other people is the answer, because someone who's not you is at some point going to give you money, even if it's the banker.
Right.
To speak to someone. So you need to be out there finding your properties, doing stuff with those properties with other people.
Yeah.
So number one, you gotta want something. Not like, and look, I want to do a deal is so specific. It's one. Oh my God, of everything, one. Well, what deal? Oh, now there's something to do. Go find one. The other thing people do is they go, well, I don't want to limit myself. Let's do everything all at once. So I'm going to open up 9 different lines of business, and we're going to do, okay, so I have to do 30,000 texts a week. How long have you been doing this? 2 weeks?
Right.
Like, no, we got 9 different, I'm looking at 400 different properties a week. Well, how long have you been doing this? A month? How much capital do you have? $12,000? Why are you looking at 400 different transactions?
You know what I think? I've just realized this. You know what I think you're particularly good at, Mike? That like why I like you as a business coach is you're really good at the concept of let's take this to the most ridiculous point possible. Like your worry, right? Like for instance, I always have worries with you about whatever. Like I don't know. Like there's like tons of them, right? Like where like I'm worrying about I got to say this to some person. I don't know, like if I need to, do I need to call this person? Do I need to text them? Like, like it feels so wrong, even though I know I have to do this. And then you basically just go into like, okay, let's just make this as bad as possible. And then like you bring in like the insane amount of ridiculousness that could possibly happen, where then my brain goes, okay, obviously that's not going to happen. And it's probably going to be something less than that and something that I can deal with. Because my subconscious is actually thinking what you're saying aloud, even though it's not.
That you already know. Everybody listening and watching right now already knows. And that is when you lose your sense of humor, all is lost. No, this is serious shit. Why are you making jokes about it? That's it exactly. Like, that is the moment when all is lost. It's I get we all have to eat and life is hard, and I agree. Also, if we're going to live some weird life and wear pants and eat sandwiches and look, if you poop in a toilet, you press a button, it's gone. Where does the poop go? Who knows? You don't think about it, right? You press a button and no poop. And it even works if the power's off. So like, I'm just saying, like,
life is ridiculous. So you gotta remember that sometimes.
Well, but we all forget no, it's very serious. This transaction has to happen and no one's agreeing with me and you don't understand and it's money and it's not real money, dude. Real money is like $300-400 million.
Right.
I mean, yeah, like PBS is like 150 million a year, and that's like nothing.
Right.
Fluff. Now I understand that, like, for each of us individually, right? Like $10,000 can be life changing.
Right.
It is so amazing what a fine line just a little infusion of money can be. And I think, especially in real estate, these transactions, like, they do give you something. It's just, if it was really just, oh, go do it and make money, well, that sounds crazy.
Right.
Oh, everyone, just go do it and make money. I mean, even selling crack is harder than that. Actually, significantly harder. Now, I've never sold crack, right? But it is a lot of work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I guarantee it. So.
Oh, you do? He guarantees it, y'all.
I guarantee it. What do you think is the most common problem you come across? just with people, like, and when they're trying to start a business or like trying to achieve a goal? Like, what do you think is the most common problem?
The most common problem is people think that what they're doing is a personal thing about them that makes them all jacked up that they need to fix when they're just doing what human beings do.
Interesting.
Sometimes I get cranky when I'm hungry, and I don't like that. And I need to just stop being that way. And I never want to be upset ever again. Does that sound sensible to you? Well, it doesn't. I don't want it. Okay. Does it sound sensible to you? No. I just want to be excited all the time. Does that in any way sound realistic? No. I don't know. Sometimes I put stuff off. Do you really think you're going to live a life where you're always going to do everything all the time, always, when you say you're going to do it always? No, I wouldn't want that anyways. So you want the thing you don't want? That's the most common problem, is we don't stop to think. We just have little chatter in our brain and go, that's how it is. Well, I don't like that this is this way, and I want it to be different, but I don't know what I want. I just know that it's not this, and I want them to be nicer, but I can't be nicer to them because they're not nice, and they're not nice to me anyway, so why would I be nice to them, and no one can be nice, and I know what I want is for them to be nice to me, but it can't happen.
Right.
I just want to make it happen, but I can't go talk to anyone until I know what I'm doing, and I don't know what I'm doing, and no one will talk to me, even though they said they could call them.
Right.
And then this problem. No. That's why, if you think about it, everything that's wrong with you is like in a song or like in a poem or like some character on some TV show or movie that you like. Like, if you and the stuff about you is in the cultural canon, then that means that's how people are.
Right. No, I get it. Like, I 100% agree. And that's what I was kind of getting at. I don't think I said it well earlier, is that when something is bothering me, for instance, you're able to just bring it aloud in words, which I really appreciate about you. And then I'm like, oh, that's just so silly. Like, why was I thinking that it's reasonable that I would, when I'm hungry, why would I think it's unreasonable that when I get hungry, I get super anxious? Like, that's one you and me have talked about before, for instance, with me, right?
If your experience, and I really mean this, right? If you're having an emotional experience called anxious, you will be, and this is the part where you go, oh, that's obvious, right? You will be feeling anxious. The experience of being anxious has a lot of things that come with it. One thing that often does not come with feeling anxious is, I'm having an emotional experience. Allow me to stop and stoically observe. That's literally not
the opposite. That's the opposite of being anxious.
Right. So like people go, oh, well, I don't understand why when I'm all jacked up, I can't just think clearly. I mean, do you know what the worst thing you can say to somebody who's upset is?
Why are you upset? No, I don't know. What?
It's the second worst. Here's the worst. Calm down.
Right.
Calm down. Calm down. Right. So it's like we do that to ourselves. Oh, this isn't how I'm supposed to feel. I'm not supposed to feel this way. And it's like you are a human being and you are having a human experience, and that experience is valid. And you can have that experience and still not let your feelings run the show. Like, you can deal with what works and what doesn't work without having to invalidate your emotional experience. I'm not a therapist. I don't deal with people's feelings. I just validate them. And here's what I mean by validate them. Oh yeah, I'd probably be pissed off if that happened to me too. Or I can understand why you would be sad because you're you. And then someone's gonna be like, yeah, I'm sad. And then you know what people do? All people do, they go, okay, let's get on with it. People just want to be heard and known. No, people just want to be heard and known. And then they will get on with, look, everyone is working, okay? So that all these people are out there in life working. So it's, it's not just a world full of morons. Okay, everyone's doing stuff, doing their best. And when we get connected to that, it's so much easier to do business with people because people have networks. Look, all those people you're talking to, they're just trying to eat and, poop and have media they like and be loved and, right, giggle at sunset and, do their thing, have their holiday in the park or whatever it is for them.
Right. I get it.
That's the most common thing for me is the invalidation of the validity of our humanity and the inevitability of the human condition.
And that's the most common problem, you think?
I mean, if I had
Or
to reduce thousands of different ideas down into one sentence,
it would be that.
all of the nuance, it is, how come I have to be like a human being? And the answer is because you're human and everything that you're bitching about is part of being human.
So
Why
why do you think we do that?
I'm sorry?
Why do you think we do that? Like why do you think we can't usually on our own figure out the things that's obvious when someone else sees it? Because
Because
it's
you're
very obvious for you, for instance, when you see me tripping about something and then you're like, okay, Jonah, let's it almost feels like it's like a let's do this again. And like and it's like, okay, like for instance, something we work on, right? Like I always am like, but we could do more. Like I want to do more, right? Like you've literally said that's my catchphrase at this point. And I
anybody who knows Jonah, one of the things about him is he's good to do business with because he always wants more, and not just for him. He wants more, bigger transactions, everyone more successful, everyone happier. Not necessarily larger portions, but more tasty portions.
right. And it's just interesting in the sense of like I've seen it now because of you, because you say it aloud. But like I remember like earlier, I don't do it as it doesn't feel this way as much, but I used to do it to invalidate, which is going back to what you were originally saying, like invalidate my successes and like my accomplishments, being like
He wants
60K, who cares? I need to do more. Like that's not enough, right? And so, like, I guess going back to my question real quick, and then I'll let you speak because I know I'm talking a lot right now. But,
no, it's great. It's exciting. Everybody know you.
but so why do we do that as humans? You think like why don't humans realize like, oh, that you're invalidating yourself? Like why does it take someone else on the outside? Does that make sense? The
Yeah.
question.
Well, first of all, you are having an emotional experience. And when you're having it. So, you ever had a really bad stomach ache?
Yeah.
How different is having a really bad stomach ache from sitting next to someone you love having a really bad stomach ache?
Right. It is very different.
Okay. The concept of cramps versus cramps
It's
are
way different.
right. So when you're having an experience, it's very intense because that's why it's called having an experience because you're having it. It's not necessarily that you're at the effect of it, but like, let's say I smash you in the head with a bat 11 times. Not hard enough to knock you out. Just like
Right.
dunk, 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 like enough for you to be like, what are you doing? Right? Having an experience because I'm hitting you in the head literally. Like your brain is literally that.
Right.
And the question is, how come you can't see what I see watching your brain get jiggled around?
Right.
That's why you go through life going, oh, you know what his problem is? Everybody knows it except him.
Right.
You say to someone, you're just like your mother, and oh my God, they flip on you. Woo!
Right.
Or your dad, right? I'm sorry, I don't want to.
Either or.
And if you don't have any parents, like I totally don't want you to feel excluded. Like I would want everyone to feel included.
No, I got it.
You know,
No, that makes sense. Like in the sense, and then so
okay, that's the
what do
first.
you do? What do you do if like let's say somebody right now, because Mike Mell charges now. He's a baller. He's working with balling people. So what if somebody I want to go into like what do you recommend for somebody who maybe isn't ready for a business coach or is really just starting out? Like first, like what should their
The thing is, so at 11 coaching, right, we have packages that range from, $275 a month to $15,000 a month. So like, and I am the founder of the company and I really do mean this. Like we want everyone to get the support that they deserve. So it's like, and it always feels weird to say this because I'm not like some hyper megalomaniac guy, but like, obviously all the coaches at the company don't do, see, obviously like people just say it, right? Automatic speaking. I'm the founder of the company, so I'm doing pretty well. So like I am doing cool stuff with Jonah, and it's true, not all the coaches can do the kind of things I'm doing with him. And not everybody needs that, because honestly, like it's very intense. Like you wouldn't necessarily always like there are days when Jonah's like, there has actually been at least one where he's been like, man, I love you. You actually have to tone it down today. But the other thing is like, you know, we're playing a big game. Like our transactions are all, you know, at least mid six figures and then up, right? So you may be doing something different with your life, but like, no matter where you are, like if you want a coach, like I'm confident that one of our 27 people will work for you. And if not, we're always hiring. We'll hire and train somebody who'll fit.
So I'm talking about, so I love it. And I love your mission in the sense of making sure that everyone gets coaching. I'm glad you gave the little sales thing there. I'm talking about there are people watching this podcast who are dead broke. I'm talking like they have not made any money this year. They're maybe making $10K a year at their shiznaz job at 7-Eleven, and they're like trying to grind in the wholesale world. But like, what would you like? Because I remember like the first thing you start with us is like recognize the patterns. So how would you, and that's kind of what we're talking about here with like me saying constantly like like my catchphrase, like how would you recommend somebody, maybe if they're not ready for a business coach, like, but they want to maybe implement some techniques that you use, like what would you say is some of the techniques, and maybe the first technique or the first thing you would do?
All right, I'll give you two things. Okay.
This is the good stuff, guys. You guys better be ready. This is what I've been leading up to for the entire podcast.
So
this is where he gives away the goods.
So if it's somebody who you really just cannot afford coaching of any kind, and like maybe it's not even appropriate, but like you're out there and you have huge aspirations, and like what are you gonna do, right? So the first thing is you look at all the people with money and with success, and they go, let me tell you how to do it. So just remember, they're telling you that from a position of having resources. Now, it is true that there was a time when I was with all my stuff in the back seat, and here I am up front doing my call for my nickels to go rent my room. But I'm not there anymore. So I speak from having resources. And also, the thing about that is everyone's success story is different. Everyone's success story is different. No two people got there the same way. So it doesn't matter how other people got there. Okay? Like, I know people say there's a way to it. Now, it's true that there's a way business is conducted. And like, if you're selling hot dogs, you probably need to learn something about the hot dog business. Like, but you know, that goes under the obviously category that we've established, right?
Right.
So you gotta be aware of like, it's not that you gotta learn stuff. You gotta put yourself out there, and that's the second piece. Is I made mistakes in my career, and people that don't really ever want to hear my name again, and I'm not proud of it. I'm smiling out of embarrassment and mild shame because I have not had a 100% success record. Anyone that tells you they have a 100% success record is lying, or is a mortuary director,
or hasn't done anything but sat down and laid down in their bed.
No, you would have to get up at some point. That's the thing. Like you would fall at some point even. So you have to go out there and do stuff. And I get it's hard and I get whatever, but like the people that have success sit at the table and talk about what success takes, but they're not in your position. And so to those of you who are listening that really, you don't have it like that at all yet. And it's like, oh, it must be nice. And all that, like, it doesn't matter how other people say they got there, because see, you're going to have to decide what deals are and are not right for you, and what percentages work and don't work for you, and how you're going to pay people, and how you're going to conduct business, and how and when you'll pay your contractors and your vendors and your taxes. And that stuff is all very personal. You know, everyone conducts business differently. Everyone conducts business differently. Me, you, him, her, them, all. And you have to be willing to go out there into the marketplace, figure out how you're going to do business in a world full of people who some will seem virtuous and some will seem shady.
Right.
If you don't go out there and do it, when I started coaching when I was 30, I had no idea what I was doing, and I probably had no business coaching anyone. And yeah, I produced results and I did some stuff, and not like I'm doing now, but I didn't charge like I do now either, right? But I did it, and also I told you I come from music. So look, I've been playing music for my whole life, and I'm like pretty good at it. Like, you go to MikeMell.com and you can like check it out for yourself, by the way.
We'll put it in there.
Yeah, and
oh, I didn't see this. Munif was on here earlier. I don't know if he's still on here, but I didn't notice that.
the thing of it is, you're either going to go out there and do it or not, and your life will be a story of you sometimes rising to the occasion and sometimes not, and sometimes doing it and sometimes not, and that's how it's going to be for you. And
so
I'm gonna yeah, go ahead, boss.
I'm gonna interrupt you. Sorry. I wanna ask you some questions. So in terms of the process, like I kind of want to get into your process a little bit too, because I found it interesting, and this is almost more for me now. So like, why do you, because I remember when you started, it's always starting with identifying the patterns of your life, of how you act. Well, where does that come from?
Yeah, so I'm glad you asked. So
wait, let me explain that real quick before I ask that. That's the first thing he has us do, is like identify our own patterns and just noticing what's happening.
It's the third. The first thing I have you do is notice what you call things.
Well, the first thing you do is you get the credit card payment, right? Then the second.
Because you have to pick a start date and sign the agreement before you pay the bill. So you can't pay the bill until we have a start date. So I want to think about it. Like, the first thing is not actually the money, right? Because you have to meet.
I'm joking.
Well, no. But you asked about the process, so it's like, and it's true. I designed the process. But first, I want people to have an experience of coaching, because that's the thing. Going back to the beginning of the call, and I went through this transformative journey, this process, and what the process is was unimportant. It was that I experienced it as a journey. It's like, let me meet some people. Let me find someone I like. Okay, let me pick the package I want with them. Right, when are we going to start? And then the first call always has a script. Yes, I every once in a while don't use it, but I also, it's my company and I get perks. But no, even then, like, I use it, right? I used it with you. And it's so, because we want people to have faith in what we're doing. See, if the first call is standardized, if everyone starts in the same place, there's like a relief of, okay, they know what they're doing. I mean, right. People are, with good reason, skeptical when they start working with us. What do you mean all my dreams are going to come true? That sounds like stupid. It's like, all right, let's go.
So let's start. So what is the first step?
So here is the first step. I'm going to tell you all the very first part of the first call, okay? And I'm going to tell you the parable of the three umpires. And I didn't make this up, but good artists borrow and great artists steal, so I made this up. So here it is, okay? There's three baseball umpires, and they walk into a room. The new guy, the guy who's been around for a while, and the seasoned veteran. And they're all asked the same question. What is the difference between a ball and a strike? And the new guy, he says quite confidently, oh, this is easy. If it's between the body and the bat, in the space of the shoulders and the body, it's in the strike zone. If it's out of that, and all right, cool. So it's technically accurate, right? He drew us a little box. They asked the guy who's been around for a while, what is the difference between a ball and a strike? And he says, I call it like I see it. But this is also true. And then they ask the seasoned veteran the same question. And he says, well, it ain't nothing till I call it.
Right.
Which of those three ways do you want to live?
Third way.
Mostly, people do want to live a life. People like the idea of a life where if I say it's a strike, it's a strike. And if I say it's a ball, but with everything in life. So here's the deal. And this is not necessarily true, but if you really want to grow, you got to kind of inquire into ideas, not as truth, but as possible ideas. So take the case that you simply do not listen to the things that you say.
Right.
No. Like, okay, I come from South Florida. So like I still, after all these years, like I get some road rage. Now, sometimes I get on the highway here in Atlanta. And as soon as I get on the highway, I go, beep. And in that moment, that's what it is. And this is true. Sometimes I get on the highway and I look at that same sea of people and I go, man, all these people are hopelessly trapped in this highway. They're probably not having as good a day as I am. And then all of a sudden, I'm not so angry. The only difference between those is what I call it. The only difference between a problem and an opportunity is what you call it. Now, I agree. We live in a real world, right? No matter who you are, you think someone's got their thumb on us, you know, and there's injustice and it's crazy. And I totally understand. All I'm saying is the difference between living with cancer and dying with cancer is entirely semantic. And perhaps the quality of your life is too. So if you want to go out there and grind or hustle or do whatever and overcome the odds or whatever it is that you got in your heart, maybe you should start to notice what you say to yourself and others, not what you mean, but the actual words.
Love it.
If you interrupt what you always say and you say something different, you might get a different result. Like, so Jonah was talking about the patterns. So the thing is this, you listening to me right now have conversations with people that are so predictable that you could hand them a script and walk away. And if you really got connected to how much of your life is that, you would be uneasy. And all you have to do is hear yourself saying what you always say and stop and say literally anything. Literally, you could say donut laser beacon, anything. And something different would happen.
I gotcha. Yeah, no, I mean, it is crazy in the sense of like when you realize that. Like, I agree, like in the sense when you first said that to me, I'm like, what the hell is he talking about? This guy's crazy. Like, what do you mean? You can't give me a script and like I say different things every day. But it's so true when you like really, really listen. Maximum, it's just you're saying it in a different way sometimes, but a lot of times you're just saying it in literally the same way.
I mean,
which is
look,
crazy.
Here's the thing, and this goes back to what you're saying before about seeing it for yourself versus others, right? We all know people that they go, man, you're just a real dick. And you go, excuse me, what'd you say? And they said, what I said was that the behavior that you're displaying right now is detrimental to the aims that you have in life. And you go, that's not what you said. And they go, what you said. And you go, nah. Or you have that one friend you can't go to restaurants with because they don't know what they say to the wait staff. You'd be like, you talk to people that way? What do you mean? And it's like, oh man, never mind the people that don't agree with you politically, right? Woo! Like, let me just say, no one is paying any attention to what other people hear. So, yeah, we're at the end of our time, huh?
I mean, we got like it's up to you. Like, let's keep. I want to hear the end of this answer at least.
Okay. So my dad is no longer in this world, but I have great stories. So cool, right? He lives on. And we're sitting at the kitchen table one day, as we often did. And he said something to me. I couldn't even tell you what he said. What I know is it was like genuinely offensive, like whatever it was like think of if someone said something to you that you would be not like rah, 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 just like they were like, hey, blah, 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 blah. You're like, wow, that's incredibly offensive that you would say that.
Right.
And my response was going to be to bark at him because I don't like it. I didn't like it when my dad would say offensive things to me. And instead, I saw myself. I'm like, no, don't do that. And I looked at him and I said, hey, man, I have no idea why you just said that. It sounded kind of offensive. So I'm just wondering, what was your point?
Right.
He said, Michael, my point is that I want the best for you and I want you to make good choices.
Right.
And I said, just like this, I said, Dad, that's not what you said at all. That's not even close to the words that just came out of your mouth. And he goes, just like this. He goes, well, that's what I meant.
That's funny.
Right? It didn't matter how off what he said was. He meant this other thing and we were done. And like, had I not asked him what he meant, it would have equally been done. And then we're going through life thinking we're great listeners and great communicators. And that's how we're all interacting. Is we're saying people that's offensive going, what I'm offering you right now is a magnificent expression of love and respect. And the fact that you don't receive it that way is just saddening to me. I expected more of you. What do you mean that's insulting? No, this isn't you. Anyway,
I love it.
You have your version of it. And the point is, nobody cares. You just got to you just got to rock it.
Nobody gives a shit. I love it.
It's true though. Really, like, I'm sorry. Like, the truth is, I'm funny, but I'm funny for you in this podcast, and then I'll be gone, and I'm okay with that, right? Like, if you want to make anything happen in life, you have to just till the soil until food grows, and that is where food comes from. And so, like, I get it. It's hard, and what can I tell you? And what's the secret? And the secret is, you will die, so you should live till then, baby. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go.
Okay. So I'm going to summarize. Because you're right. We are at the end of our time, but I'm going to try to summarize the craziness that you've got going on here. So like in the end of like, I think, cause I like giving something that like, I think the audience should do. And I feel like for this one, it's for sure just start noticing what you do always, like what comes out of your mouth, which is what he was talking about. Is like just notice what what is it that you constantly say over and over again and realize how that's affecting you, how that's affecting others. I think it's like the best first step. I remember the umpire stuff too. That's like realizing how life can be, I'd say. And then like the first actionable step is the identifying your patterns. So I like it. And I think I'm gonna there are some questions, even if we're going a little over time, that I'm going to ask you real quick. That's like the ones I ask everybody.
The lightning round. I'm very excited. Okay.
Lightning round.
So, Grant's tomb.
No, none of that. And we ain't doing Grant's tomb right now. We can talk about Grant's tomb after the podcast. So, the question is basically, and I'm gonna like phrase it for you specifically, is if you were telling yourself, I'm going to say when you were starting your first coaching business, if you could tell yourself anything now, to yourself right before your first coaching call ever, what would it be?
Hey, you're not going to listen to anything I say anyways. Just go have a good time.
I love that answer.
I just want to be clear.
But you mean that, because I know you mean your words.
No, I mean it because we're talking about slogans. So there's a thing called cultural memory. I don't care what your beliefs are. That's not the point, right? But if I knew then what I know now, oh my God, how many songs is that? So like,
right.
What am I going to tell me then? Like, you ain't going to learn because you're young and foolish and going to do what you do, foolhardy man or woman or they or whatever, like whoever you are. Like, look, you are a human being and you should stop acting like you're going to be the one that's not. Because if it was any of us, it'll be Peter Thiel, and even he will end up being only human.
Right. I just love the wisdom of that answer too, because the wisdom there is that like you wouldn't have changed anything anyways. You would have told them something, but they weren't in the energy state to be able to accept it anyways. Probably.
Wisdom without dumb. What? I don't know. but it's
Right.
you also can't spell it without whiz. So make of that what you will, right?
Yes. I mean, yeah, like you can, but yeah, like 100%. Like I just like it because it's
You
so
gotta
true.
come up with a fear, gang. You gotta burn that fear up, and you just gotta light it up, and you gotta go out there and you gotta hit it, and you gotta burn it up. Because if you wait till you're not scared, you will be old and or dead or both, and then maybe you're already one or the other. But like, hey, you should go burn that fear up and scorch it, baby.
You should just be my hype man. But yeah, like that relating that back to Scorch the Fears exactly. Like there's nothing to tell yourself. Like even if I told myself now what I'd want to know, it would be basically the same thing. Mine would be just like mine would be like keep calm and like realize it's going to be okay, which is like
People told
very
you that.
similar.
Do you know how many times people told you that in your life? Like if you had $1 for every time someone told you that, you could buy a high rise in Dallas. Like
Right, and
down.
that gets back to what we were saying is like people will tell you things and it's like, oh, that's obvious, but it's so much different to make it feel that way. And I think that's what you're really good at. Like honestly, like I am incredibly grateful for you. And I think that's what you're good at is you make those common things, you make them emotionally feel like that instead of just saying it over again. And I think you do that by making it by like going to the extremes of what your subconscious is thinking, because your subconscious has what you're saying in it a lot of times. Like your subconscious is going like, oh my god, the world is going to explode if this deal doesn't happen. I'm going to get sued for bajillions of dollars. There's nothing I can do about it. We're all going to die. Literally, global warming is going to kill us anyways. Like you might as well just kill yourself right now with like a noose. Like that'd be better at this point because you're
No,
going to fuck up this deal.
different. So
I'm not a coach, but my point is like you can go to a ridiculous place, and what's making you anxious or what's screwing you up is that subconscious is doing that and you don't even 100% realize it. I think that's your secret if I had to give a guess based on our hundreds of calls.
if you think about it, especially for those of you who are parents, maybe that's what we mean by use your words. Maybe if you'll give language to the experience you're having and work with that language, you will have a different way of experiencing life. Because the difference between a problem and an opportunity is in language. And the
Right.
difference between forgiving someone and not forgiving them and all the reasons why is all in language. Now, I understand there's a world in this day and age, people's rights are being taken from them, and it's a crazy time. And, capitalism is strange. And I agree with all of that. There's a real world out there, but so what? Look, we're here. To you, I'm just this crazy guy on the screen. I don't know. Maybe I'm real. Maybe I'm just a deep fake. Who knows? Well, this was fun. Was there any other questions?
I'll end it there because that's a hilarious way to end it.
I came to get down.
Mike, you are the most energized guest. I appreciate you so much for everything you do. Real quick, how do the people get a hold of you if they want some of this craziness in their life and if they actually want to be able to achieve the goals they want? Because trust me, we only reached the tip of the iceberg of his process, to be honest. And like how you go through not just the patterns that you deal with on a day-to-day basis, but so much more than that, how to make goals, how to achieve those goals, breaking it down step by step. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So how do the people reach you? Where should they go?
To be fair, this is like a 1-hour call, and I've been working with you for like 9 months, and it's a call every week. So I can't recreate all of that in an hour, right?
No, we weren't gonna. That's why this is, and now we're doing the upsell, right? No, I'm just kidding.
What Jonah and I discussed isn't really your business, okay?
Right.
Anyway,
But how do the people reach you? Where do they go?
So you can go to 11coaching.com and you can opt into our newsletter. But if you want to see if it's for you, like I said, our packages start as low as $275 a month. It can often be tax deductible. But what you do is you can get a free consultation call. So you want to go to go.11coaching.com and you go to the bottom of the page.
Like that.
Yeah, like that. And there's a calendar. And then You can just sign up for a free consultation call, and one of our coaches will actually take you through the whole explanation of like how our coaching method works and what happens on the calls. And they'll talk to you about what you want to achieve and take notes on that. And the call's always valuable. Like, look,
it is valuable. Like your whole service is valuable. I can't believe you offer a package for $250. Why do you do that? You and I know that your services are worth more than $250 or $750.
Two things, right? Two things. First of all, and I do tell the coaches this: if I'm too good to coach for $275, I'm not good enough to coach for 10 grand. What makes me better than that? And the other thing is, and I really mean it, because the rent is too damn high and food is crazy expensive, and we do live in crazy times, and not everybody's got it like you got it, bro. And I want everyone to be able to have coaching because, and this is on the real, right? Like I joke about, we were talking about me being in the car and you asked me and I said, I can't say I was homeless. I stayed at my friends' houses and they insist to this day. That's what I tell people. See, my whole life, people have always been looking out for me, right? And if I could do it for free, I would. But like people, the coaches got to eat. And look, as any of you know, like business is expensive, but it's like I want everyone to have an opportunity to get support if they want it.
Right.
Buying a villa in Bali off a couple $100 a month, but no matter where you're at, whether you're balling like our boy over here, or you're someone who really just like has a dream and just want to know the answer, like if we can help you, we will. Like that's why there's free calls up front. I'm not trying to grift you.
No, I love it. I mean, I knew that was the answer. Like I was like, there's no, like the reason has to be is because you want to coach more people. You'd rather that somebody could afford it. They get because I agree, like coaching, like I think everyone should have a coach. I mean, like even if you don't have a business, even like doing like, I would do the $250 program. If you're just trying to do anything, get a raise, lose weight.
Don't mess with my structure, bro. It's $275.
$275. Sorry.
It's July 2022. So I don't want you to watch this in 2025 and go, I saw that podcast 4 years ago and you said whatever. Like,
now to be fine.
July 2022. And but seriously, y'all, like, I don't know if you like want to find out, like, we got it set up. You can meet coaches for free. Like, it's cool. Like, it's a very smooth process. And Jonah Korchin, you let me be the damn guest and come burn the fear to the ground. Thank you, man.
Yeah, I mean, you helped me get this done. So I appreciate you, man. I love this. I'm going to do something I haven't done before because I realized that this is actually important. Like, comment, and subscribe. I learned that from other YouTube people. That actually helps the algorithm. Like, comment, and subscribe if you can.
Subscribe.
And then I'm gonna wrap it up. Next week, I have I have a Keegley franchise owner. He owns 12 franchises. It's going to be nuts. I'm going to learn his story. That'll be next week, Thursday, 5 p.m. PST. If you guys also are in Denver, I am coming, and you're in real estate and you want to hang out, I am going there in a week and a half and living there and moving there. I'm not just visiting. So if you want to come hang out, that could be cool.
What?
So I'm gonna end it. So we got my most energetic podcaster here. Skorch the Fears, episode 23. We did it. Amazing, Mike. You absolutely killed it. Like scorching the fears, literally with some fire. I will see y'all next week, 5 p.m. PST. Let's go.